Hi, we're going to do a 5-minute chair yoga practice for hips and low back. You don't really need anything props wise besides a chair. And before we get started, I'd just like to remind you that throughout this practice, you can do literally anything that feels good for your body. You can skip all the things. You can do, a teeny little bit of some of the things. You can do your own thing. All good. If you ever have any questions, you can either just send me a message or email or post a comment. Whatever works easiest for you, and I'll do my best to get back to you. My email should be all in the links of the video, just in case you don't know it. Otherwise, you can just get started in any shape you like. Any seat you like, doesn't really matter. I'm going to start to bring awareness to your breath, and we'll take a couple of slower breaths here to start. Focusing on slowing your exhale down, particularly. Just one more like that. You might start to do some circles with your shoulders. They can be really small or they can be really big, doesn't really matter. A couple in each direction. If you have the space, you can either do some circles with your whole arms, or you can bring your hands onto shoulders and do circles with your elbows, keeping your awareness on how you're feeling in your body, on your breath, on where you're feeling these movements. And find a spot where you might have your feet flat on the floor. If your legs are a little short like mine, they might be mostly on the floor. Sitting comfortably, but it's kind of growing a little taller. Imagine you're stacking your head right over top of your shoulders. So a lot of times we might be a little bit kind of rounded forwards. You might have your head forwards. Think about bringing your shoulders over top of hips and then head right over top of shoulders. So a little bit of like a backwards movement with your head almost. And from here, you can use your left hand on the chair beside you. Do a little side bend towards the right, or towards the left. Right arm might reach up if you'd like, or you can keep your arm down. Right hip is pressing down into the chair a little bit. So you might feel this stretch down into your hips, or you might feel it up into your side a little bit. As you inhale, come back up. We'll do a little bend to the other side. So I'm using my right hand on the chair and doing a little bend that way, just because it feels a little bit more stable. If your chair has like a back, you might hold that instead. And inhale, come back up. You're going 1 foot at a time. You're going to lengthen your foot, lengthen your leg. You can point your toes. Doesn't have to be this lengthened, just lengthening it any amount that feels good. And set your foot back down. Do the other side. So point your toes and sit down. Similar thing. This time as you inhale, lengthen your leg, flex your foot. So push your heel away. And then set your foot back down. Other side, lengthen your left leg as you breathe in, press your left heel away. And then set your foot back down. Okay, so you're going to one side at a time. You can either use your hand, you can use a strap, whatever feels good. I'm going to scooch a little bit so you can lift your leg and do little circles. So I'm going to use my hand for support. A couple in one direction. And then we'll do a couple in the other direction too. Just noticing how this feels. If there's ever any pinching or pain, ease off. Do a little bit less. We'll switch sides. And then same the other way. You might notice one side is a little different from the other side. Maybe you have more space one side or the other. All good. Okay, set that down. Set your left foot down. Bring your right foot out to the side. Any amount. Doesn't matter if your foot's still forwards, out to the side. Doesn't really matter. We're just going to take a moment here, just noticing how this feels in your hips when your feet are a little wider and your knees are out a little wider. And bring your right foot back to left. Couple of options for this next part. You might bring your right ankle to left knee. This isn't necessarily accessible or comfortable for all folks. So this is one option. If you want to stay here, go for it. And then when we switch this next option, you'll switch back to this option, right? The other side. So the other options, you're going to come back to this place where we had our feet more like further apart, and you're actually going to face your right side. So this, you'll need a chair that doesn't have arms for this part. You can hold the back of your chair, and you're just going to lengthen your left leg either out or back a little bit. If neither of those feels good, you can keep your left knee bent and have your leg kind of at the side of you and then scooch back a little bit. So what we're looking for is either a little bit of lengthening in your leg or in the front of your left hip joint. So that might mean your leg, as I said, is behind you. Your leg can be pretty bent. If you have your knee bent, think about engaging left glute a teeny little bit. Like you're helping to bring your left hip forwards. And then release that. Doesn't have to be this big either. So I'm going to scooch forwards and then twist to the other side. If you decided to take thread the needle where you have your ankle on your knee, you can switch sides. Or I'm going to turn to the left side of my chair. My right leg is just going to hang to the side. And then I'm going to scooch my foot back a little bit so that it feels like I have a little bit more lengthening here. It still feels comfortable for me. My back isn't there's no pain in my back. You might be holding your chair, I'm going to, for support. And then as I said, you have the option to lengthen your leg to the side or right back. Doesn't matter, and it doesn't have to be a very big movement, as I said. An alternative to this, standing, would be to have your leg behind you a little bit, so you have that same lengthening in the front of your left hip joint. It does not have to be a very big lengthening, right? It doesn't have to be a big movement. And then come forwards. When you're ready, take a big breath in your nose and a big breath out. If you like this video, please feel free to check back. We're going to do more videos of a similar type of thing soon. If you have any questions, as I said, send me a message or email with all the links below. And thank you so much for being here. Hopefully this was helpful.